Hi there. Welcome to Learning Subfolio. In this video, we're going to be customizing a form to add questions. We'll start simple with a paid expedited review question. With this expedited review, we'll explore automatic answer assignment and automatic tagging, which is our first step into the world of automatic actions in Subfolio. We'll take a look at submitting that form. Then we'll add a question about translations. Then we'll start over and make a custom form with file uploads, long responses, and automatic tagging. To begin, let's edit the fiction category we made in the last video by clicking the Edit button here. Then we'll click Form Elements on the left. Here we can see the default questions. In the last video, we skipped over adding custom elements. To add a new custom element to our form, click the Add Form Element button here. Behind the scenes, I've added a new tag called Fastpass to our demo environment. That's where I've named our fictional $5 expedited reading pass. Let's create a question about it, automatically assign any Fastpass submissions to myself, and automatically tag submissions marked as a Fastpass submission. Let's name our question. Then we'll choose the type. We'll see more of the types as the video goes on. For now, we'll choose single checkbox. In the option label, we'll put Fastpass. And we do want it to have an added associated price. Let's choose $5. We can now create the question. You can see it brings us back into the question list, and it shows us a preview of exactly what our question looks like. We can also click Preview here to see a preview of the form itself. First, let's go back and add more options. We want it to have an associated tag and assignment rules. So I'll start by adding a tag. I can click the Add Tag button here. This is the list of tags that shows up. Here I want it to have Fastpass, and I can click Done. Now, anytime someone answers Fastpass, they'll automatically have their submission tagged as a Fastpass submission. Let's go into assignment rules. Here, we choose how this question affects answer assignments. In a later video, we'll discuss how these assignment rules interact with review workflows. For now, know that this selection assigns users to your submission when a certain answer is selected. This option is not available for short responses, long responses, or file selectors. In this window, we see the Assign Type selector. By default, it's set to none. If we click it, we can see all the assignment type options: round robin, random, all at once, and least busy. Let's choose round robin. Once we choose round robin, we see the assign count, the fallback selector, and the assignment list. Let's leave the assign count at 1, leave the fallback user empty, and I'll add myself and my colleague Yao to the assignment list. To begin adding someone to the assignment list, either type @ or click the @ button here. And I'll choose myself from the list. You can also click @ and type the name, and then click Tab to autocomplete. We've chosen round robin, which meters out submissions evenly across the list of readers you choose. If you choose a higher auto-assign count, like 2, this rule will assign 2 readers from your list. In a future video, we'll go over reader limits and we'll discuss the fallback user then. Let's click Done and Update Question. Then we'll update the category itself. You can see that the price is now set to $0 minimum, even though the category is free. We can see that the form actually changed the price of our category. Let's view the submission form now. I'm back in our fiction form now, and you can see that at the bottom there's our expedited review question. And you can see that at the bottom, the $5 fee is marked. If I click the check next to Fastpass, it adds a payment section at the bottom. And if I submit, it brings me to the payment page. And you can see the card is saved from our last submission. Let's click Pay and Continue. Now we're on the confirmation page, and you can see that the submitter doesn't see any tags. Let's go into our system. On the main submissions page, you can see that Yao and I are both assigned. The submission is marked as under review. Fastpass and previous contributor are all added as tags. Let's go into the submission. You can see the same information here, previous contributor and Fastpass. Note that previous contributor came from the tag video, where we added a sticky tag to this submitter. If I were to submit again and leave expedited review off, let's see what happens. We can see that this new assignment, Fiction for Subfolio, is still awaiting assignment and doesn't have the Fastpass tag or the assignments. Back in our form, let's go through the process of adding a "Is this a translation?" question. In the question, we'll put, "Is this a translation?" The type will be a single response. It is required, and we'll add 2 options by clicking Add Option. We'll say yes and no, and there's no associated price with this question. We do want to add a translation tag if someone answers yes. And let's create the question. Scrolling down, we can see, "Is this a translation?" Click the handlebar and drag to move it up above the other question. Let's see how this looks. Here we can see our "Is this a translation?" question. By default, it's incomplete, and you can select either yes or no on the form. In the question preview, I can select an option to set a default, and I can click again to remove that default. Before we move on to a more complicated form, let's discuss the different question types. We've already created a single checkbox, and we've created a single response, which makes a radio input. Let's see what a multiple response looks like. You can see that I can choose both yes and no in this form. A drop-down list makes it a drop-down question. You can see I can choose yes or no. A long response lets us add text boxes, such as a cover letter. A short response lets us add smaller text boxes for smaller answers. And finally, a file selector lets us add a file selector to our form. Let's delete these questions and start into a more complicated form. To begin, I'm going to disable the submission title, the cover letter, and the submission upload. If we preview this form, we can see that it only has writer information and address. Let's create a custom form that allows writers to add their CV, a cover letter, a work of art associated with their piece, and the piece itself. Let's begin by adding an element for the submission title. You can see that since we disabled the title, we now have a question, "Is title?" If we check that, this will become the title of the submission. And create question. Now, let's add a file selector. We'll allow PDFs and Word documents, and it is required. We'll title the question, "Your CV," and create. Okay. Let's add a long response cover letter, and it is required. And create question. Okay. Let's add another file selector. This one's also required, and we'll allow images, video, and audio. and click Create Question. Okay, one last question, which is the piece itself. It is required. We'll allow PDFs and Word documents. Okay, let's create question. In a future video, we'll be looking at how to hold reviews anonymously. So let's mark identifying fields as anonymous by clicking this button. For each of these questions, we can also add a placeholder. Let's update the question and see how our form looks. Back in the form, we can see that the address field, the title, CV, cover letter, associated art, and piece question are all visible now. That's the end of this video. In the next video, we're going to look at how to set reader assignment limits. In videos after that, we'll look at review workflows and more.